Hey, Mandy.
Hello. I'm glad we pressed record.
Me too. Me too. Because you and I can get deep into stuff before we even press record, right?
I know. So we
Yeah.
have to remember to
Yeah,
start. We should have started 20 minutes ago. That's how deep into
I
it we got, right?
know. Well, and I've missed you.
I
Yes.
know. But I knew that we were both going through something because I don't think we both knew we needed some space.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. And then when
Really?
we finally said, okay, we had to
Yes.
reschedule once, but I think we both knew we were
Yes.
going through some stuff.
So some real stuff. I was overwhelmed.
Yep.
Just completely overwhelmed. And I know sometimes when I say that, folks are like, Lisa, yes,
Yep.
girl, I was overwhelmed. I needed to disengage from all things work. I needed to find a space and clear my head. I needed to take care of my entire being. I felt
Yeah.
like my whole being, my body, my soul, my mind, my spirit needed a little TLC. And I just felt as if I couldn't give myself that TLC while I was in front of the screen with my clients.
Yeah.
My clients who I so dearly want to serve at the highest level. And when I can't do that, that's not the right thing for them or for me. So I had to
Yeah.
step back.
Yeah.
I had
I
to
kind
step
of
back.
felt like, I felt like I had been doggy pedaling for
What does
a
that
few
look like?
months. It
What does
just,
that look like?
I'm doggy pedaling. I don't I don't have, I didn't have the tools to do a full swim, and I was
Yes.
just doggy pedaling. And then I feel like I got so exhausted from pedaling. I just had to sit out. I had to get out and just sit down and reflect on, okay, how am I going to swim again?
Yeah. How am I going to swim again? How am I going to swim again? Because paddling is so exhausting, huh?
Oh, it's exhausting. And I also felt like I was paddling for other people.
Yes.
And that was really exhausting. And I mean, it was, yeah. And, we're going to talk today about uncertainty
Mm-hmm.
and paddling through those waters. But, let's get to the point of swimming through those waters, right?
Yes. And
But
there's
I didn't make it. I had to sit out for a minute.
And the reality though, Mandy, is there are days when we're not going to be able to swim. There are days when we're going to be able to swim really, really well. And there are other days when we're not going to be able to swim at all. And some of those days, doggy paddling is all we can do. The question is that enough? Right? And there are moments when we make that enough. And there are other times when, as you said, you are paddling for others and the weight becomes so heavy. It's like you're the dog, but you're in water at the same time. And you're already wet and heavy and trying to paddle through, but you're carrying 10, 12, 15, 50 other dogs behind you. And it's just pulling you down.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a picture that came in my mind when I heard you say,
And
doggy
that's
paddle.
exactly, and what it looked like in real life was someone dropping or placing a weight on my back of COVID, of my children feeling insecure and nervous, of employees leaving for new opportunities. It just felt like these weights just kept piling up.
Yeah.
And of course, I thought I had to save the day in all aspects.
Of course, that's Mandy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was not in shape to save the day.
Wow. Wow. When did you realize that you were not in shape to save the day?
A couple weeks ago, really last week, I don't know why it takes so long for me to say I need help. I need help. My boss kept saying, hire more people, get some contract. And I get that, but at the same time, because I wasn't in the right place, I didn't know what to ask for.
Yes.
And, you know, I didn't know who to ask. And then, you know, last Thursday, I got a call from my daughter's principal. You need to come get her immediately. She's been exposed to COVID. So I have a 9-year-old daughter in 4th grade. And I knew this was coming, right? I knew this was coming, that we would have to quarantine. And, you know, just kicking into that gear of the mother gear of, okay, I'm going to go get her. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take an at-home test, then we're going to take another test, and we're going to get her where she needs to be. We're going to figure out what's going on. And I knew in that moment, maybe you got to figure some stuff out because you need help if you're going to navigate this one. You know, I've been navigating being down an employee, an amazing employee who left. I had been navigating a huge workload, you know, kids starting back at school, but this ding was like, oh, no, you got to get some help. So I thought of someone who I can hire. You know, I got my daughter set up how she needed to be set up. And I said, I've got to ask for help. You know, I've got to get some help with at home, with at work. And I just knew I had to reach out.
Mandy, what was that turning point for you? What was it that flipped things for you that made you decide that you couldn't do this by yourself? You had to get some help.
We'll have to cut out this long pause because I'm going to think about it. I think it was, I don't know how healthy this was, but I knew what to do with Tess. I knew what to do in that situation. I got some of the control back. I knew how to handle it. There's been so many things going on where I didn't know what to do. But with Tess, I knew how to show up as a mother.
Yes.
I knew how to get her where she needed to be. I knew how to make the appointments. I knew how to be present with her. I knew that she came first.
Yeah.
And I have a great, you know, work environment where they knew that I needed to put that first.
Yes.
And so after I prioritized, maybe that's what happened then. After I prioritized, I knew exactly how the order should go.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you had with Tess was that you had certainty about how to be as a mother.
Yeah.
Right. And so as you and I were talking earlier, what we were struggling with while we're feeling so stressed and needed to remove ourselves even from work and from stuff is the uncertainty about a lot of other stuff that just left us feeling helpless. We're seeing people around us getting sick, dying, people leaving the job. I mean, just so much going on in the news, you know, as well. And so the uncertainty, which is where it's difficult to anticipate what's going to happen.
Yeah.
What comes next? And the truth is, with everything that's going on right now, we don't have a history to look back and say, okay, so the last time this happened, this is what we do or did as a community, right? Or we don't have anyone in place who's making really solid forecasts about what to expect tomorrow or next week or next month. So most of us are looking to say, oh, COVID is going to be better by fall. Of course, things are going to be better. And yet, when you turn on the news or you pull up the news on your screen, you're hearing these crazy numbers and you're hearing all the confusion in the media about wearing masks or not wearing masks, getting vaccinated or not getting vaccinated, what medicine you should take or not take if you get sick. So there's so much uncertainty that we can't predict. People can't plan a vacation effectively. I heard a friend, I saw this recently, I think on some social media post, where she was just so mad because she had to cancel her vacation to Hawaii because Hawaii is saying, well, to come, you've got to get vaccinated, or I think that was you got to get, and she was livid, right? And part of it is giving up and feeling out of control, not being certain when she'll be able to do this again. So she's just frustrated and blowing off steam with that. So this uncertainty, it's plaguing us.
And the other part that I the other part of the uncertainty where I see it is at work, because I don't know who's going to leave next.
Yes. Yeah.
And I have this pressure of, oh my gosh, who's going to be next? Or do I need to make sure everybody's okay? I need to check in more. And I know that this is happening everywhere. That people are they're wanting to do something they've never done before. They're moving cities and states. Our best friends moved to North Carolina this summer.
I know, I remember you, yes, you told me.
You know, and so people aren't leaving because they're horribly unhappy or angry. They're leaving for a new adventure, you know?
Well, the pandemic, Mandy, has caused all of us to kind of pause and reflect on our lives. Right. And so people think about their jobs, they think about their school situation, about where they live, all that stuff. And a lot of us are just thinking, you know what, this is a great time to pivot, because this is not exactly what I want out of life anymore. Or some are saying, well, I want more out of life. Others are saying, you know what, I want to dial back, or I want to try something completely different and new in a completely different place with different people.
Yeah. You know what I wanted to tell you? That I did do something new. I told you I was going to do a hip hop class.
Yes.
But I did a rowing class instead.
Oh.
And I will say that has also helped me get back in a very good place. Is my friend Jenny and I, we were watching the Paralympics and we said, we should try that. And so we went to a class and it was incredible. And you're on a machine and they offer this class in Austin overlooking the lake outside.
Yes.
It is, you compete against yourself and against others. So for me, that's, a dream.
Yeah.
And it was something different. It was something new. It was way out of my comfort zone. And that uncertainty paid off. I will say that.
Well, that was a real stress buster, because what happens is, or stress and anxiety buster, because when we're dealing with this overwhelming amount of uncertainty, how it's translated in our body, in our system, is anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? We become super anxious and sometimes not even sure what we're anxious about, but that's a response to the stress that we're under. And, it's interesting that uncertainty generally doesn't even come by itself. It comes, accompanied by ambiguity. We're not even sure about what. So here is a piece uncertain where we can't predict, then it's ambiguous. Is this the same thing as this? And so what happens if this happened? So there's this ambiguity to it, as well as things are happening fast. So there's the volatility, right? So we have the uncertainty, we have the ambiguity, we have the volatility, and it's chaotic as well. So we have to deal with all of that. So the body then is under a lot of stress, which we feel as anxiety. And we all have our different ways of dealing with this anxiety, right? We do some crazy stuff that we feel help us, but in the long run, they don't. Like right now with everything that's going on, and I find myself doing this. So, we took this trek from Central Texas all the way to Miami driving. And so you're driving across all the states and you got to stop, you got to refuel, you got to get food and water. And each time we get out, we're, amazed sometimes that nobody has masks on. And these are all states where the numbers are, okay, guys, there's so many of people who are getting, coming down with the virus. And so I find myself scanning for threats.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And we do this when we are uncertain, when we're anxious, we're searching the environments for signs of threat. So I'm much more careful about doors that I'm opening, about how many people are in the store while I'm, because if everybody is without masks and we're in the middle of a pandemic and we're in a town where the numbers are high and you're anxious already, you're going to scan for threat. And so most of us are doing that. Same thing is happening in the workplace. People are leaving. So what are leaders doing?
Scanning for threats.
Yeah. What does that look like for you as a leader in an organization?
I'm probably I saw this on Instagram, this meme or this post where it's a woman at her therapist appointment, and the therapist said, "Oh, and you've said this to me before. You said, gosh, you're just so hyper aware. You have
Yeah.
great self-awareness." And the person says, "Yeah, that's the problem."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what
And
it is. I'm constantly scanning for a bump in the road,
yeah.
or someone isn't happy, or
Mhm.
this project didn't go so well, and I immediately want to jump in, call it
Yeah.
out, try and fix it,
Mhm.
shout it from the mountaintops. And that's not always the best solution.
Yeah, right. Because the best friend to self-awareness is self-management. So if we are scanning for threats too much, it means we're not self-managing enough. I mean, the threats are real. So if you're out and you're in the middle of a pandemic, you're going to be careful, spacing. We have all the protocols they've given us, 6 feet apart from somebody else, wash your hands a lot, cover your whatever. So that's healthy scan for threat, right? If a family member is coming to visit, you want to know perhaps have they gotten vaccination or did they get a test to say that they're negative? That's good scanning for threat. Scanning for threat, where if a family member leaves to go to the store and you want a record of everybody they stop to talk with, what do they do? And da 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 da. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not managing effectively. If you're concerned that folks are job hunting while they're still on the job with you, and you're just kind of looking over people's shoulder and asking a bunch of questions, that's not healthy. But if you're putting things in place to understand what people's concerns and their interests are right now, what would make them want to stay here, it might mean relief from the workload, it might mean extended vacation, it might mean a bonus, it might mean other support system in place. That's healthy scanning and providing support that's needed. But quite often we're not doing that. We're letting this run away. So I always say the best friend or best partner for high self-awareness or heightened sense of awareness is really heightened self-management, not let that run away with us.
I'm
Right?
writing,
So,
I'm
yeah,
writing that down.
the threat scanning is one way this anxiety show up. How else do you think it might show up?
I think I try and place blame.
Mm.
I
Mm.
think I've noticed that the past few weeks, I've searched for a reason for everything. I want a reason for everything. I
Mhm.
want to, so I'll give you an example. We had a meeting recently, just a high level planning meeting for a project, and it just fell flat. It didn't,
Mm.
it didn't go that, I don't feel, it didn't go well. I don't feel like people felt heard.
Mhm.
I don't think there wasn't an agenda, which, me and my perfection, I was like, why isn't there an agenda?
Things in order.
It was driving me crazy. And I immediately, spiraled into, this is indicative of everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
everybody left this meeting unhappy, and people aren't going to like
Yeah.
their jobs. They didn't feel heard. And so I wanted to place blame on the person who held the meeting.
Yeah.
And that spiraled as well. Like, oh, well,
Yeah.
that person never holds meetings, right?
Yeah.
And that's something I do too, is I do these absolutes. Like,
Yeah.
they never hold meetings, right? They always do this. And my husband tells me I do this. He does one thing and I say, oh, you always say that.
Always do that. Yeah. So
So I wanted there to be blame and a reason, and I did not take any time to step back and say, okay,
mhm.
how do we do this better in the future?
Yeah.
Why am I so upset about it?
Yeah.
It wasn't even my meeting.
Yeah, but psychologists call what you're explaining to us catastrophizing, where we turn a molehill into a mountain. We catastrophize everything, and so we see a small hole in a fabric becoming a big rip, and your
Mhm,
dress is going to fall off you now, right? So,
mhm,
for example, one person at school diagnosed with a virus. Oh, the whole school now is going, and this is going to be crazy, and this is the end of it for the kids' school year. Recently a friend called, and she was having a really bad day, and she was missing her children, and her sister, who was her closest friend, had recently passed away. She was really having a rough day. And she just said, this thing is going to go on forever. I'm never going to get to go back out to go speak again. This virus is just terrorizing the planet. And she's just going on and on. And I just let her, because that's where she was. She needed to just get a lot of that. And the funny thing, she and I have similar backgrounds in training. So she knows exactly but that's where she was. She was catastrophizing the whole thing. And that just causes us to get down in a hole that sometimes can be hard to dig ourselves out of, because that's the manifestation of anxiety, the catastrophizing. The good thing is that when we catch ourselves, or someone catches us in that loop to help to pull us out, or we find resources to help us stop going there. Like, I have many leaders right now who they're losing so many team members, and they are already on this tangent that they're going to lose their job because so many people are leaving. Not that the circumstances in the situation is so bad that people are making these big life decisions. It's now about them and their poor leadership. And I'm like, no, let's talk about the reviews that you've been getting. Let's talk about what your people, your stakeholders are saying about you. They're not just blowing hot air at you, they're being real. So slow down and kind of hop off the catastrophizing thing already. So yeah, so that's a big one. That's a big one.
And
Yeah.
I think you just said something, and I typed this today to 2 coworkers. It's not about you.
Yeah.
And because somebody had put in their notice and sent this amazing email saying why they were taking a new job and what they loved about working here and how they changed here, but they were pursuing a new opportunity. And I had to say, this isn't about you.
Yeah.
This is about them.
Yes.
And a lot of my uncertainty is around things that aren't even about me.
Yes. And sometimes we take it even further. Psychologists like to call this one the hypothetical worry. So worry is normal. We all worry. I mean, that's just a fact of life. Yet when we spend too much time in the what ifs, and we have that what if, it's just going spiraling and spiraling and spiraling, we can get out of control with that, because the what ifs have no end. It's like the string we're pulling, and it just keeps going on and on. So think about, for example, when I catch myself in that place, it's like, okay, Lisa, whatever I'm worrying about, is this in my control or out of my control? So if it's in my control, now I can shift that to say, I'm concerned about this. So what do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to? What resources do I need to pull in? What are action steps I might need to take, or the people I need to engage, because I can do something about it. But a lot of the things that we sometimes worry about, they're things that we can't do anything about. And then that's where we get this huge discomfort around uncertainty. Because what's really getting at us is that we don't know what to do with this. So we're uncertain about a lot of things. Or it seems we're uncertain about a lot of things, when the truth is, if we look at it carefully, we might be uncertain about a couple of things or a few things. But we've magnified it so much that if one were to hear us talk when we're in that spiral, it's as if we're uncertain about everything in life and everything around us.
And I think I get scared of just the uncertainty. Just the feeling of uncertainty. I get scared.
Yeah.
And so the uncertainty is hard, right? But the fear that comes along with it, you said that self-management is the best friend of self-awareness. Well, I would say, the enemy of uncertainty is that that, or I guess the best friend of uncertainty for me is that fear of, ooh, I need to know the answers.
Yeah.
And so then the fear builds and builds and builds. And then.
Yeah. And what makes that
Crashes.
even worse for us is when those emotions that we're feeling, whether it's the fear or the anxiety or the apprehension, whatever those emotions are, when we then tell ourselves that those emotions reflect reality.
Yeah.
Psychologists call that emotional reasoning. So we have some kind of sensation that we're experiencing because of whatever is going on around us, and we label those sensations, fear, anxiety, frustration, whatever. And then we say that's really what's going on around us. So for example, I feel scared, so I must be in danger.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're not always in danger because we feel scared. We might feel scared because we recall being in a place of danger, but the experience of it feels real as if you are in danger. Or you say, I'm feeling guilty. Well, I must have done something wrong. No, something may have just triggered you and
Yeah.
you're feeling guilty, but it doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. But we get into this place of emotional reasoning and we
Yeah.
believe that what we're feeling is real when it's not.
So how do you get out of it? I mean,
Well, we're going to get there.
Okay.
We're going to
Okay.
get there. So I have another example. Did you hear that funny sound? There's a little thing that we're going to have to cut out right there. I heard a,
Okay.
but anyway, I heard it again. Talk again.
Is it okay?
Oh, it's coming from your speaker.
Okay.
Yeah, it did it again. Are you hearing me clearly?
I'm hearing you clearly, but if you hear it on your end, then I should hang up and call back.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it any better?
Oh, it's better.
Okay. Great.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So
So
you said
then
we're gonna get there.
we're going to get there. Yeah. And so then we get to another place where we become fortune tellers. Mm, so whatever predictions,
Yeah.
right? Right? We hear people make, we interpret that as fact. So somebody may predict something about, for example, what's going on with turnover in the workplace, people leaving, or what's going on with the virus, or what's going on with school. Oh, my child will never be able to graduate from high school or college or whatever. So we start interpreting what folks are predicting as facts, and that can place us in a place of gloom and what's the word I'm looking for? Doom and gloom.
Doom and gloom.
Doom and gloom. That's what I'm looking for, right? like folks were saying, now we're going to be stuck inside forever, or because I'm having a rough week right now, or a rough month, or a rough quarter emotionally, that means my whole emotional and physical health is just going to deteriorate. That fortune telling is crazy.
Yeah.
And yet we get stuck in that place from time to time, sometimes way longer than we would like to.
I remember when I worked for an executive coaching firm, I worked for people who, do exactly what you do. And we had a team coaching session. And one of the things we talked about that I've always remembered is that during times of uncertainty or a lack of communication, even, people will create their own stories.
Yes.
So
yes,
we dealt with this at my office. If I don't send an email out about something that happened, it means I don't care. Or people immediately, because there was no communication, people immediately, or some people said the story they created to fill that that gap, that uncertainty was, she must not care.
Mhm. Mhm.
When, what really could have happened is I had to rush to get my daughter from quarantine.
Mhm.
And I didn't have time to send that email, and I was going to. But you create that story in the meantime. And, we do this with everything. With my husband forgets something at the store and doesn't tell me that they were out of it, I assume, and I create a story. He never listens to me.
Never listens
He
to
never
me.
remembers.
Mhm.
We must be growing apart.
Mhm. Mhm. And it's something about his character. He really is not a
Yes.
person who listens. Yeah.
So you create those stories, and those stories are dangerous.
We do. We do. And imagine us staying in that place, being in that place too often and for too long, what it does to us as individuals, what it does to our relationships or families or teams, that sort of stuff. So you asked me a really good question earlier, and I said, let's hold that, or as I like to say, let's stick a pin in that for a moment. So how do we deal with this uncertainty? You know, a few years ago, and I wish I remember, uh, I wish that I remembered who I heard said this, but it shifted my thinking about uncertainty when I heard this some time ago. What if we treated uncertainty like an allergy? And we live in Austin, right? Allergy capital USA, where what do we do with an allergy? If somebody has an allergy to pollen, for example, or grass, um, seeds or whatever, what do we do? What do we do with that? What do doctors try to do? They try to make us tolerant of the allergen. So when my daughter was little, oh, bless her little, oh, poor thing, she was allergic to every tree and grass in Central Texas. When we did that allergy test on her back, every little square inch on her back was blown up. She was allergic to everything.
And there are a lot in Texas.
During that time of the year when cedar pollen is out and driving you crazy, she could be upstairs in her room and someone would open the kitchen door, the back door to the backyard for a short period of time. And Chrissy could tell because the pollen had come into the house and somehow she could sense that tiny amount of pollen and would start sneezing and stuff. So we had to ensure over time that Chrissy became tolerant of pollens of all the trees and the grass around Central Texas. So she had to, from kindergarten, or I think it was first grade, start getting allergy shots. So that was this, they're putting the stuff in her body to make her more tolerant of the allergens. What if we could allow ourselves to be more tolerant of uncertainty? Because there's one thing that we know, and we better accept it, even though we don't want it, is that life comes with a buckload of uncertainty. No matter what it is that we're doing, where we're doing it, what age, how many children, what degree, what status in life, we have got to deal with uncertainty, period.
Yeah.
And if each time we face uncertainty, whether it's around our finances or health or work or whatever, if each time we're kind of being thrown off track for extended periods of time and our mental health is being battered, then that's not a good thing. So we've got to come up with a strategy to make us more tolerant to stress and to all this stuff that comes with uncertainty. And the reality is, Mandy, we're all doing some of those things already. But for the most part, if we're not using the framework of tolerating uncertainty, just like we tolerate allergens, and we won't even realize or recognize that we are doing some of these things. So when you find yourself in a place where you're swirling in uncertainty and you're feeling like you've lost your footing and all that, what are some of the things that you do to pull yourself back to a place of managing well and coping well?
One thing that, through my own dealings with my anxiety, which I've spoken about before, and I have some great people who I follow on Instagram for people who deal and live with anxiety, is one of the mantras that they give you to say during a panic attack is, and the tools that they give you are to focus on the present. What is in front of you at that very moment? So a suggestion is to go put your wrists under cold water, to touch something around you, to have a conversation with somebody, to really focus on right now. And I actually have a quote I'm in my office today, but I have a quote on my wall that helps me when I'm in that. And it's a Lao Tzu quote. And I remember I took this Chinese theory class in college because I thought it would make me look a lot smarter. But
Yeah.
it's, if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest hurdles is, my mind goes to the fortune teller. I want to try and figure it all out, or it goes to the past. Well, this is always going to be like this. But when I focus on the present, which I am right now, you and me talking right now, what am I going to get out of this moment? Then that's something that can be a complete reset for me, is the smell, the taste, the sight, the hearing right now can be a big reset. And maybe you can tell me psychologically what's happening when I do that.
That's a good thing. It's interesting, in clinical world, we use cognitive behavior therapy to help patients deal with anxiety, which really is dealing with uncertainty. So the first thing that you want folks to recognize and to accept, at least to some degree, is that it's impossible to get rid of uncertainty, which is what we all try to do. Right? Those of us who were making our list, and I have to make my list. That's how I survive. I put my list, and they're not saying that making your list isn't a good thing, but when we rely so heavily on it, when something happens and we need to pivot, if it's not on the list, sometimes it's like, oh, it's like the sky is falling. When the sky isn't falling, that's just life. Things pop up for the day in work, in the family, elsewhere that are not on our list. And we have to be agile and figure out how to deal with that, how to navigate through that, because that's part of life. Many of us, we double check things carefully. We, right now with COVID, we're calling family members and our loved ones a lot, making sure that they're okay. We're resharing information about COVID. That's helpful, but taken too far, it's problematic, because that's part of we've got to control what's going on. In the workplace, quite often I'll have leaders who the uncertainty is at a boiling point for them. And you see that when they're micromanaging or refusing to delegate, because that's their way to try to control the uncertainty, to make sure that the work product is done at a certain way, right? Or sometimes we procrastinate or we avoid doing things because we don't want to make the mistake, or we don't want to make other people anxious or nervous or whatever, right? Or sometimes we distract ourselves so we don't actually do the very thing we need to do, all in the name of dealing with or managing the uncertainty. When the truth is, a more effective way is accepting the uncertainty, that it's part of our daily experience. And then we think about what resources and support we need to help us manage that. Now, in cognitive behavior therapy, what it invites us to do is to think about the fact that our thoughts, our feelings, and our behavior are all related. And when we change in any one of these areas, whether it's we change our thinking, we change how we label our emotions, or we change our behavior, it's going to produce a different result for us. So if you think about all the things that I just mentioned about the things we do when we're controlling uncertainty or trying to control uncertainty, the double checking, the micromanaging, the refusing to delegate, the over questioning and double checking and list making and all of that. If we could change some of those behavior, right? For example, one of the things that I've done that's helped me a lot is have pockets on my calendar every day for crap falling from the sky. Like, I know it's going to happen, so have pockets on my calendar every day that's for that. And crap's going to fall every day. Those days when it doesn't, man, those are some good extra time for reflection or for some additional work, whether it's completing emails or whatever, but having that there. In the same way, when I make my list of things to do, I put a space there for the things that it's other people's stuff, but I might have to help out, or just a block, a time block on my list to say, whatever falls from the sky, this is the space for that, right? Or trusting others to give them. It's like I was in a crazy moment with my admin some months ago where there are a couple of items that I should not be doing. Like I really should be giving it to my admin to do, but because I wanted it done a certain way, I was holding on to it. Well,
Yeah.
that wasn't helping me and that wasn't helping her learn about my business, right? So think about some of the things that you do when you're struggling with uncertainty, and what are some behaviors that you could change? What are some thinking patterns that you could change about that? What are some emotions that you could shift or manage differently that could help you tolerate uncertainty rather than trying to get rid of it? It's not going away.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny because my first instinct is to get rid of it. Get it out. Get it out of there. Get it out. But I see you. I had this visual in my head while you were talking of, if you spend all your time, it's like you're running on a track, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you spend all your time trying to dodge any potential setbacks, you're never going to make it around track.
Mm.
You're just going to spend your time dodging potential setbacks.
Yeah.
And I think a behavior change that I have to make is, and that I told you I did last week, was asking for help.
Yes.
Was not trying to carry the load alone.
Yes.
Because, and I carry the load alone for a lot of reasons. One being, I think I know how to carry it the best.
Of course you
do. Two being, I don't want everyone else is carrying the load too. So
yeah, I don't want to burden.
Yeah, I don't want to give it to anybody else. The other being, which we've talked about this before, is, well, I must need to carry all of these heavy loads because that got me where I am today.
Yes. Yes.
Which is a lie.
Yes. Of course it's a lie. But Mandy, I had to face that a few weeks ago. So, I'm known for both, I know myself to be, and others experience me to be, Lisa, who's a go-getter.
Mm-hmm.
She's just going after stuff and she's making stuff happen. And a few weeks ago, I was just like, I don't want to make anything happen. I just don't. Right now, I just need a break from everything because this pushing and making things happen, I was just feeling tired and worn, and I needed a chance to just recharge. And so when I pulled back and started taking care of myself in ways that I needed to, one of the decisions I made out of that time period is I don't need to, nor do I want to have so much on my plate at any given time. So I'm shuffling things around and prioritizing things in a different way. So certain things that I'd be going after, especially in the work arena 2 months ago, right now at this moment, I don't want to because it's just too much, right? And then there are other things that I'm so selective that, this is exactly what I want. These are exactly the kind of people that I want to work with, organizations I want to support, leaders I want to work with, and being really crisp and clear about what is it that I want on my plate. It's like going to the buffet and saying, at this buffet today, I just want one piece from this. Mm-hmm. I just want a little bit of this salad. I want this. I'm not just going to take everything because it's a buffet. I'm going to be highly selective, especially because it's a buffet and I get to choose what I want.
I love that.
Yeah. The sense of relief, Mandy, that came over me. But here's the deal. On the other side, the go-getter of me, I said to my husband, oh my gosh, Pete, am I becoming unambitious? Am I losing that? And he's like, no, stop it. Don't say that. I said, it feels a little, he said, that word unambitious could not even be used with you. But see, this other side of me, the go, was questioning that. So what do? I check out with somebody who I trust and I know who cares about me and who knows me. And he says, no, that there is irrational thinking.
Yeah. I think our call to action for this is, I mean, I love the changing your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, looking at those and writing them down.
Mhm.
I also want to express how amazing it is. And you mentioned this before we got on the call,
Mhm.
that you've got an amazing support system.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't want to underestimate that as well,
Yeah.
because I have some amazing girlfriends at work and personally. I mean, they cross over, right? But I would not be navigating through things right now or dealing with uncertainty without going to them
Yeah.
and getting that second opinion,
Isn't that
or
awesome?
that even with you,
Isn't that
but
awesome?
I have got that support system that really takes some of that baggage
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. When you reached out to say, what are we discussing? And I thought, oh my gosh, it's like you were, because I was in the moment thinking about it and say, I want this to be what's real for you and I right now. And it's the holy crap, what's going on?
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of folks are dealing with this.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that our conversation today, resonates with our listeners, because I know so many are struggling with uncertainty. And the reality is, it's impossible for us to avoid. It's not going to go away with our magical thinking and or catastrophizing or any of that stuff. We've got to treat it like it's an allergy, and we've got to figure out, how do I tolerate this? Where do I get the resources? Who do I rely on? Who do I turn to? What do I shift in the way I think and show up, and the way I am presenting myself, to help me be more tolerant of the uncertainty that we have to live through?
And it's that buffet, it's, okay, what am I going to pick out today?
Yeah.
I could pick out some rowing.
Yes.
I could pick out some exercise.
Yeah.
I could pick out some great conversations with my kiddos. Yeah. I could pick out a project I'm excited about. Yes. And I'll also pick out this team that I need to build.
Yes.
This person that I need to hire.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pick out everything.
Yeah. And imagine, Mandy, if we add to everything that you just picked out, and my list would be a little bit different, but would have a lot of what you're talking about. Imagine if we put the cherry on top of that is a little gratitude.
Yeah.
Because uncertainty and the chaos that comes with that, the uneasiness, the anxiety, sometimes causes us to forget about all the other stuff that we have around us that's going so well. So imagine the cherry on top of that sundae is a little gratitude, like literally verbalizing, I am so grateful for my kids, for my husband, for my kids' teachers, for my little garden, for my neighbor, for whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm gonna give you some whipped cream.
Ah?
I'm gonna give you a little bit of whipped cream. So I spent the day yesterday at the ballpark. My daughter's playing softball. My son is playing baseball, and my husband is head coaching my daughter. And I loved every single minute of the 8 hours I was at the ballpark. It was burning up.
Wow.
I mean, it was a hot and sweaty day. It was cranky kids, high on sugar from the concession stand. But I loved seeing my kids be uncertain of what they were going to do when they stepped up to that plate and just knock it out of the park.
Wow.
And they failed. And, my daughter had a couple of strikes, and we had girls pitching who've never pitched before. My husband coaching, he's never coached before, and my son running around, who knows what he's doing. He's just happy to be running around, with a bat. But they were so confident and brave and
Mhm.
happy. And
Mhm.
that for me was some whipped cream that I'm going to have
Whipped cream. Yeah,
all week long.
yeah, yeah. So in the moments when you're feeling uncertain this week, reflect on that, because
Yeah.
those moments of uncertainty, they are going to come.
Yeah.
We're promised that they're going to come.
Yeah. It was
As
so
always,
good to
Mandy.
see you.
Good to see you as well.
It's
Good to
good to
see you as
talk.
well. Yeah. So you
Thank
want to
you
wrap this
all
up?
for listening. We, you know, we go through life in between these times that we talk, and then I feel like we get a very special gift by just getting to talk about it and to talk to everyone listening today. As usual, you can find us anywhere you find your podcast, on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you all for listening.
Bye, everyone.